Welcome into College Football Smothered and Covered. My name is Barrett Salee. Appreciate you checking out the show. Got a big show today. Jay Crain from Crain and Company will be along, talk a little bit about Colorado, Auburn, Texas A&M, and his path to success over at the Daily Wire at Crain and Company. Like I say, every single day, go follow the show, YouTube, Apple, Spotify. Go leave a review, 5-star, 1-star, whatever you want to do. We appreciate the feedback here at College Football Smothered and Covered. And of course, we are brought to you by Bet Online, your number one source for all things sports this season. Baseball, golf, soccer, top fights, and MMA, all that you can find at Bet Online. Every stat, every matchup, live odds, they've got it all. When the game's over, go to their online casino. Play a game of blackjack, maybe some poker, maybe one of their 150 online slot options. Hit a website today. Go to betonline.ag. Use the promo code BLEAV, B-L-E-A-V. That's promo code BLEAV, B-L-E-A-V. And you'll get 50% off your first deposit. Bet Online, the game starts here. Joined now by a longtime friend. You know him from the Daily Wire, Crain and Company. He used to have to wake up early in the morning, but now maybe not so early. He is Jake Crain. Jake, what's up, man?
Barrett, what's up? Yeah, man, we had a slot open in the afternoon from 2 to 3:30 and wanted to jump all over it. And now that, we found out my wife's pregnant, I guess I'm going to have to start getting up early again here in a couple months. But now, man, loving the new time slot. It's nice when news can break and then you can talk about it during the day. But now, man, excited. And now, all right, football season. Come on. I know technically it never ends, but it's that time now that we've kind of moved past NHL, College World Series, the NBA Finals, which was a dud. I'm ready for fall camp to get here.
Yeah, Media Day is right around the corner too, which is kind of the unofficial start, but that means we all get to screw around this time in Dallas because, I mean, honestly, there's not a whole lot of work that actually gets done at SEC Media Days. It's basically just a bunch of us screwing around and having fun with each other.
It's dudes being dudes, man. Just dudes being dudes. True. Talking about dude stuff.
Are you going to the All-Star game, by the way, in Dallas?
I am not, but I will tell you, Barrett. And I've actually gotten made fun of, by my friends for this, but my wife has never been to a Major League Baseball game.
What?
And, yep. And so July 13th, actually, I'm taking her to her first Major League Baseball game. And look, I'm a Braves fan. You know that, Barrett. I'm going to chop on till the death of me and then beyond that. But we actually found some really good tickets for a Reds game. And, living in Nashville,
really?
We're going to drive up to I've never been to Cincinnati. I've never been to that ballpark. So they're going to play the Marlins. And I told her, listen, it's not as much about the teams your first time. It's about the experience. So
yes,
going to go up there and hopefully have a good time and watch some mediocre teams in Major League Baseball play.
Well, if you ever need tickets to the Braves, I'm a season ticket holder, 5 tickets. So I'm always available.
Well, I'm going to be outside your house in 30 minutes. So yes,
you're not there already. That's kind of creepy.
No.
But we were at Yankees Braves last Friday. I mean, man, that was fun in New York City. So speaking of outside the SEC footprint, before we go full SEC, a guy we like to talk about, of course, on this show is Deion Sanders. And he said this yesterday, that he's a leader of men, not follower of men. He's a father, not a baby daddy. He leads his sons. I don't follow my sons. And he has no interest in leaving Colorado. Very simple question. Do you believe him?
I actually do believe him. Now, would I be shocked if something did develop where he ended up leaving? But my whole point is, like, what is he supposed to say? Like, he's supposed to be like, guys, you got me. It's like that. It's like that Chappelle skit where they're like, "Are you not going to the Middle East just because of oil?" And he's like, "Oil," and then he hits the thing of water and runs away. I think as far as being a leader of men and not a follower of men, and I don't want to follow my sons, I want to lead my sons. Okay, I can say that you were like, hey, we need to leave Jackson State, we need to go to Colorado. I get it, but there's only so many avenues that you can answer that. To me, if it was me, I think the best course of action would have been like, listen, I'm not going anywhere. I'm the head coach here. I made a promise to this university, and I don't want to entertain this anymore. We're going through summer workouts. We're getting ready for fall camp. Deion has a way of adding some, icing to the cake, if you want to put it that way. But I would much rather him say that than be like, oh, God, man, great question.
I'm out. Deuces.
Yeah, can't wait for these guys, for my sons to be gone. I'm going to be out of here, like a fat kid at a Planet Fitness.
I think that he might you mentioned that his sons might leave, and that gives him wiggle room in that quote, right? Like he was leader of men, leader of his sons. To me, if they go 6-6 this year, that is a miracle to turn that program around from a team that went from 1 win to 3-0 start, and then maybe to a bowl game. I think athletic directors will recognize that he can actually coach. He can actually recruit in this day and age. And the buzz and the visibility is there. So I think that he will if he leads Colorado to a bowl game, which to me would be fat. Can you imagine a Deion Sanders arms race next coaching silly season?
Well, with the changes that we've had and all the craziness in college athletics in general, nothing, at the end of the day would surprise me. And look, when it comes down to analyzing or projecting or predicting what a team's going to do, you obviously got to look at the main components. Obviously, the roster, the schedule, the depth up front. That's the first thing I look at. If they go 6-6,
they just need 5 guys up front.
Like
let's not even talk about depth yet.
Yeah, no, it's they're still in the shallow end of the pool. But if they go 6-6, it'll be one of the best coaching jobs in college football, in my opinion. I don't think people, just if you look at it from a casual standpoint, I don't think people really understand how bad Colorado was up front on both sides of the ball last year. I don't think people realize how just thin that roster was. And I don't know if they're going to be that much better up front on both sides of the ball. When you look at what they lost in the portal, and they've gained some things in the portal. Jordan Seaton's going to be a really nice player. You never really know with the freshman. It's a big physicality jump from high school to college anyway, let alone on the line of scrimmage. But if they go 6-6, then it'll be one of the best coaching jobs in college football. And I think at that point, after 2 years of work, and this is what, we talk about all the time on Crain and Company, showing me that you can do something in a 2-year cycle as an athletic director or somebody that may be potentially hired by somebody else, that gives me enough burden of evidence or burden of proof that you can do this, as opposed to these situations. And I'll use Mel Tucker at Michigan State as one, where you come in for 1 year, you knock it out of the park with somebody else's players mostly, and then you panic as an AD and throw all the gold in the vault at a guy that you really don't know. Brent Venables is another great example. You go 6-7 your first year. All right. Obviously nothing crazy is going to happen. You go 10-3 your next year. All right, let's go ahead and throw that extension. Let's do a little preemptive strike on if something were to happen, show stability, this, that, and the other. But I'm telling you right now, Barrett, and I don't make predictions or projections until the end of fall camp. I need to know who gets hurt. I need to know who wins what job, who gets arrested for a DUI, whatever. I find starting in week 1, like North Dakota State is a nightmare matchup
opening
for what
Thursday
Colorado
of the
wants
season
to do. Yeah, because here's what North Dakota State's going to do. They don't have all these skill players, right? They're going to come in and they're going to be flashy. They're going to bring down all these big redheaded Siberian cave trolls that they got up front that are roaming the mountains and the forests up there. And they're going to get in 12 personnel, and they're going to run it at your face. They're going to run power. They're going to run counter. They're going to run ISO. And don't forget, now, I don't know if they can stop Colorado on defense. Talking about when North Dakota State's on defense. I don't know, even if they get to Shedeur Sanders.
But it's ball control. If it's ball control offensively.
With the way the rules are now, with this clock not stopping after a first down unless it's under 2 minutes, North Dakota State can sit on that ball and just 3.5, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 3.5, 3, all the way down the field. And if they can keep Colorado, when the field shrinks in the red zone, from scoring touchdowns and make them kick field goals, I'm telling you, Barrett, North Dakota State, big time, tough matchup for Colorado. South Dakota State, sneaky matchup for Oklahoma State week 1 as well.
Yes, sir.
So the Dakotas, they got a chance to make some noise early, but right now I don't see 6-6, Barrett, with that. And Nebraska, you got a pissed off Nebraska team. You're not sneaking up on anybody anymore.
No.
Now all that.
And I love Matt Rule. Matt Rule as a coach is tremendous.
The builder. He's Bob the Builder, right? That's what he is. But Colorado last year had the element of surprise, and they would talk all their trash, but people really didn't take them that serious. Well, you started out 4-0, and you pissed a lot of teams off that you played and the way you went about it. So the whole offseason, they're remembering. If Nebraska can beat them by 70, they will beat them by 70 if they
Yes,
have a
they
chance
will.
to. This ain't no, like DeMarcus Cousins said, this ain't no walk in the park.
No, it's not. And I believe that North Dakota State will beat Colorado. I truly believe North Dakota
I
State's
took
going
them
to beat
+8,
Colorado.
Barrett, yesterday. I almost called my wife and said, I'm going to put my next paycheck on North Dakota State +8 because it went up from +7.5 to +8. I hope it keeps going up. I'm a buy.
Listen, In Sync, or was that Backstreet Boys?
Oh,
I'm going to
man.
give you some. I'm going to give you some. I'm going to give you some.
That's In Sync. That's In Sync, Barrett.
Is that? Well, they're all the same. I'm going to give you
True.
some dad advice. Don't make reckless investments with a baby on the way.
Oh, yeah.
With an emotional wife, with those hormones kicking, not the best idea.
No, yeah, no. I've already put a bunch of money in buckets in the backyard just to keep it there for safekeeping.
Bury it like Randy Quaid in Vegas Vacation. All right, let's get away from the Colorado hype for a second, or for a while, for the rest of the show. How about that? You're buying Auburn? Because to me, I'm looking at Auburn thinking, okay, Hugh Freeze has some weapons, including the Cam show at wide receiver. He's married to Peyton Thorne, I think, a little too much, right? I think that is one of those marriages that it kind of got rocky for a little while last year. Both parties were kind of looking around thinking, is there a better mate somewhere? They come back together. But then I always look at Hugh Freeze and I'm thinking Bo Wallace, Chad Kelly, Malik Willis. It doesn't take a lot for Hugh Freeze to find an effective quarterback and win at a reasonably high level. Do you think he can do it this year?
Yeah, well, I mean, if we're talking about buying Auburn, specifically, are we buying above the projected win total, which I think is 7.5?
7.5. Yep.
Last time I saw it.
I think it was 6.5 about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I've been in Cooperstown for a week and a half. I have no idea what's happening in the world right now.
I think, to me, the floor is 7-5 for this team, or should be.
The floor.
Wow. Yeah. When you look at, again, because starting off with the schedule, Auburn plays their first 5 games at home.
And Cal is their Power 5
opponent. So you feel like starting off 4-0, and you can make the New Mexico State jokes, all that stuff. You get one hall pass. That was your hall pass. You should start out 4-0. And then you have an Oklahoma team, Barrett, that, while I'm big on Brent Venables, is going to be a young quarterback who I think is going to have a good future in Jackson Arnold. His first SEC road game with an offensive line that is suspect. Now, when you look at where Auburn has gotten better, the depth up front on the offensive line and the defensive line, which is the ultimate gap or bridging of the gap, right? That's where you make the difference, right? That makes everything better. Yes, you have Cam Coleman, all right, but you also have Rivaldo Fairweather. You have Robert Lewis from Georgia State. It's because, again, I was a defensive coordinator for 3 years. I'm going to find, who do I have to double? When it's third and passing, who do I have to bracket? Well, everybody's sitting here saying Cam Coleman. I'm telling you, the one who's going to be a problem is Rivaldo Fairweather, right? Auburn's got a good stable of backs. Rivaldo Fairweather is the matchup. If I'm a defensive coordinator, I'm looking at, he's like that 6 foot, he's like Al Horford, right? You're big enough to play in the post and body a linebacker, right? But you're also quick enough to run by a linebacker. It's a matchup nightmare. I don't have somebody that's really a great matchup to guard him. And he plays in the seam. So when you play in the seam, you threaten me quicker than anybody else. He's a tight end, flex Y, whatever the hell you want to call it. But you're going to probably have to bracket Rivaldo Fairweather on third and passing, okay? Yep. Which means that if you're running 2-man where you keep both the safeties high, right? You're going to play halves with both the safeties. You're going to man everything underneath it, which a lot of people do on 3rd and 6 or more when you know the pass is coming. That means you're going to have to shade somebody else on the other side. Maybe it's Cam Coleman. But now that you have Robert Lewis, now that you have some of these other weapons, you can't really put Auburn into a corner offensively. Then the question becomes, can Peyton Thorne make the throws that he's going to have to make to extend drives and create explosive plays? That's the biggest question. Will there be a jump this year? The reason I have a hard time believing there's going to be a huge jump is because eventually, if you show me who you are enough, I'm going to believe you. Peyton Thorne has played a lot of college football. He has a lot of high-level college football snaps from Michigan State to Auburn. Typically, you don't see that late of a jump. Auburn fans remember Jason Campbell. It
Yep.
typically don't go down like that, right? From your junior, senior year, you have
Got
this
beat out by
massive
Daniel Cobb at
got beat out by
times.
Daniel Cobb and then come back and play the hero. Now, he had more weapons, than we've sent to Ukraine lately.
Sure.
So, at the end of the day, that's a big deal.
That's a
But
lot of
here's
weapons,
where Auburn can make the biggest jump. Auburn's pass rush last year, and I thought Ron Roberts did a much better job than he gets credit for defensively, because Auburn did not have really anybody outside of a couple guys that could rush the passer,
Yep.
right? So you have added depth where guys can go empty the tank. It's like hockey, right? They go for 2 minutes as hard as they can skate, then they get off. Well, Auburn had no depth last year, so guys had to pace themselves. By adding these transfer portal pieces and having some of these young guys like Falk step up, it's going to take some pressure off that young secondary. I would much rather have a really good front seven pass rush and an okay secondary than an elite secondary and an okay pass rush, because you can't cover guys for 6 seconds in this league. So when I look at the schedule, you're probably going to lose at Bama and Georgia. Let's play a game of look each other in the eyes and be honest. Yep. Right? Chalk those up. If you're able to beat Oklahoma, that's the linchpin of the season.
Yes, it is.
Because then you start 5-0, you get a bye week, then you get to go get your teeth kicked in by Georgia on the road. Which, you know what? At that point, you're 5-1. You're probably ranked. You lost to what could be the number 1 team in the country.
Dude, if you're 5-0 going to that Georgia game,
yep,
you're top 10.
You're top 10. But 10. That's Barrett. That's not a crazy. Listen, everybody's a fan of somebody. Okay, I think if you're not a fan of somebody, you should be federally investigated. But I have sit here and said Auburn's going to go 6-6. I'm going to call it how I see it. I know how the sausage is made, just like you. So it's going to come down to, at Missouri is going to be tough. It's that they're a damn good football team. They're going to win a lot of games. They got a lot of experience and talent coming back. At Kentucky, can you win at Kentucky and handle business at home like you should? If Auburn can do that, if they can win one of at Missouri or
I was going to say
Kentucky,
split those.
If you can split those, I think 9-3 is the ceiling. That's what I think. The floor is 7-5. I think the ceiling is 9-3. So if we're going to go from am I buying Auburn over 6.5? Yes, please put it in my basket. Let's go to self-checkout. If I'm buying anything over 8.5, I'm a little nervous there, which to me, if I'm questioning the floor is 7-5, the ceiling is 9-3, it's probably going to be 8-4, Barrett, which is what Auburn needs to show on the field to keep this progress as they bridge their way to try and catch up to Bama and Georgia and the elites of college football. Because all this recruiting is great. The new facility is great. The momentum.
I've been there, man. It is gorgeous.
It's incredible. All of Auburn is aligned, which rarely happens and makes Auburn dangerous. But once you show that progress on the field, then it all comes together. Then you get on the SpaceX ship and you go do a trip around the moon for a couple times.
Yeah, I mean, 8-4, I think, would be massive progress for Hugh
Barrett,
Freeze.
would you buy 8-4 right now? If I went up
to
you and said, Barrett, Auburn will. I would take 8-4 right now. I definitely.
Yeah, I would too. I mean, and you mentioned Auburn being aligned. I went there. I grew up an Auburn fan. Had season tickets. Worked there. It's never aligned.
Yeah,
I mean, it's very rarely aligned. And honestly, one of the last times was after Jetgate when Tommy Tuberville kept his job, and then they went undefeated. At that point, it was like, oh, well, maybe those idiots that were running the program and funding the program before are actually not as smart as they thought they were.
And Barrett, can I say something too? You know what I find? And listen, fans short for fanatical, right? It's one of the best parts about college football and the SEC specifically. But what I find hilarious is I go back and on social media, I see when Hugh Freeze got the job, because I was one of the few saying Hugh Freeze needs to get the Auburn job. Auburn needs to hire Hugh Freeze.
I was too. I was on that boat too.
You were too.
Yep.
You were too. I remember that. Me and you had conversations about that. I watched so many Auburn fans say, oh no, Auburn can't hire Hugh Freeze. He's an awful human being. And then when he got the job, oh, Auburn, I'm never going to another game. I can't stand this hire. I'm done with Auburn. It's amazing. Those same people, when Auburn gets 5-star Cam Coleman, when Auburn flips to Marcus Riddick, oh, it's freezing in here. Oh, walk outside. It's a blizzard. It's freezing in here. Don't think we forgot. Once Auburn gets back to where, let them go 9-3. Those people will be the first one at Toomer's Corner, and that's fine. That's fine. But it just goes to show you, man, the pendulum is wild in this conference. It's wild in college football in general. But don't think we forgot.
Well, let me tell you something about the coaching industry. If everybody got blackballed for what Hugh Freeze did, there's not going to be a lot of coaches.
No, not there's coaches that you think.
Not saying it's okay. Not saying it's okay.
No. Not saying it's okay, but acknowledging reality, right, is not verifying that you're allowed to do it. There are some coaches that people think are squeaky clean, that have never done anything wrong, that are the dirtiest, low down sleazeballs that you have ever met in your life, but you haven't heard about it yet. So, it goes with the territory. I guess it's like that in every business, Barrett, at the end of the day. But it's funny for me to see now all these people that are like, oh, top 5 class. Oh, man, you better bring the fur coat. You better bring the parka. It's freezing in here. You wanted this man drawn and quartered in the town square when he got the job. So it's funny.
It's true. It is true. It is true. I was going to make a joke about a coach that's no longer in the SEC, but we're not going to do that. We're not going to talk about dirty coaches who are no longer in the SEC. One coach that is now in the SEC is Mike Elko. And look, I know Texas A&M fans are full of hope, right? I didn't want to dampen the mood every single offseason, but it's like, y'all, Jimbo Fisher is not that guy. Jimbo Fisher is not that guy. It's smoke and mirrors. He was a product of a generational quarterback in Jameis Winston, and really he's too stubborn for his own good. And I kept saying it. And last summer, I think Texas A&M fans started to believe me. And obviously, I was right. I'm not patting myself on the back and giving myself a trophy, but I was right. And now they sort of hit the reset button, in my opinion. And mentally, I know that's hard for Texas A&M fans to do, and really any fan, because they want their programs to win. Like you said, fan is short for fanatic. But to me, I think the mood around Texas A&M is that they're okay with a little bit of a rebuilding process because Mike Elko is new to the SEC, only has 2 years of experience, still somewhat wearing diapers as a head coach, and is now stepping into a pizza oven out there. And to me, I think 7-5 for Mike Elko, and I hate to put numbers on it. I just did. So maybe I hate myself for this, but you got a decent quarterback. You got a good wide receiving core. You've got an established defensive coordinator who knows the program, knows the landscape of College Station. I'm buying Texas A&M long-term, but it's going to take a little while to get there.
Yeah, I don't think that's a crazy thing to say. Here's what I feel about with Texas A&M. And I'm not talking about schematically, right? I'm talking about culturally and from an identity standpoint. It feels like, and I'm trying to remember, it was Lindsay Lohan in Mean Girls, right? Was she the one in Mean Girls? The main. I know you know the answer to this.
Yes.
Yeah. So you remember when?
Thank you. I'm the one who knows the answer to this.
Yeah. Well, to me, it was Texas A&M under Jimbo Fisher, especially at the end, that they were kind of like Lindsay Lohan in Mean Girls when she tried to become part of the popular group, like the Plastics or whatever they were called. And it just didn't.
I admired your expertise on Mean Girls. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, listen. My wife watched it the other night, so the only reason I can remember this fluently. But to me, Texas A&M, and again, I'm not talking schematically, the home of the 12th man, the Junction Boys. You're out there in College Station, Texas. You're not in Dallas. You're not in Austin. Hell, you're not even in Fort Worth. Y'all don't need to be the prima donna, flash and sizzle, just everybody out there just dressing to the nines. You need to be the type of team and the type of mindset that takes you behind the bar. And if you want to throw hands, we can throw hands. If you want to get down and dirty and play physical and be grimy and be nasty, that's great, because that's who we are. We'll put on our
Texas State fighting armadillos in Necessary Roughness.
I'm telling you,
the by God Texas Colts ass.
That's who they need to be. And again, I'm not talking schematically. I'm not saying run the triple option or anything like that. But when Texas A&M, and listen, they haven't won a national championship since 1939, since before we stormed the beaches of Normandy. And I'm not saying that to make fun of them. I'm not saying that to be condescending or mocking. It's not like they have this row of championships, but when they've been at their best, minus a couple years with Johnny Manziel, where they still really didn't win anything except individual trophies, if we're going to be honest. They're at their best when they're physical, when their identity is low key, right? That kind of quiet arrogance and that toughness. That's why I think Mike Elko is the perfect fit. Not saying you don't want great recruiting classes, right? Not saying you don't want to finish top 10 in recruiting or that you don't need to spend NIL money, but it just seemed like the mindset and the culture of Texas A&M was trying to put Hollywood in the middle of Texas. It's just not going to work. So now that Mike Elko's there, he's a defensive-minded guy. They're going to be physical. They're going to be fundamentally sound. They're going to tackle well. They're going to know how to play with their hands. They're going to play good on special teams because the man did wonders at Duke. Like, let's be honest. And I'm going to tell you this, Barrett. Connor Wegman's an NFL player. And they got some cats
I agree.
walking around that team.
That dude's going to be very, very high
he's
up
nice.
draft boards.
Notre Dame week 1 is walking into a nightmare. I'm just telling you, they are walking in to a nightmare because guess what you haven't heard really? Anything about Texas A&M. You haven't heard anything this offseason. There hasn't been some tit for tat with Nick Saban. There hasn't been guys getting arrested left and right. Like there's no fashion shows that guys are going to during Fashion Week in Milan.
No dude perfect.
Yeah, no dude. They're over there. They're hitting the sled. They're lifting weights. They're in meetings. They're going to class. They're doing the little things that it takes. And there's no drama and there's no distractions. And Mike Elko knows how to get the most out of each guy because he had to do it at Duke. So do not be shocked, right? And you're playing against a Notre Dame team, okay, that did lose some pieces up front and has a quarterback that played for the guy that's the head coach at Texas A&M, right? He knows his weaknesses. He knows what Riley does well, which is a hell of a lot. Shout out Fairhope. But he knows his weaknesses. So you're going into a team with not huge high expectations into a place that is an absolute nuclear bomb, and they have not lost a game. Everybody's excited, and they're good enough to beat Notre Dame. I'm telling you, let Notre Dame go in there and think, oh, it's Texas A&M. Let's make our jokes. Marcus Freeman won't because he understands it. But Notre Dame is walking into a nightmare week 1. There's a reason A&M is favored. Even though by it's 1 point, there's a reason A&M is favored in that game. I like Mike Elko long term. I don't think 8-4 and even possibly 9-3 is out of the question this year.
I think that's the ceiling, and I can't wait to see it. Last thing, Jake, you and I have been friends for a long time. I've been on your show. You've been on my show. We've hung out plenty of times. It's so awesome to see you grow from the J-Boy show way back when to where you are at Daily Wire. To me, my path in this business has been unique. Your path in this business has been unique. So advice to any kids out there who are watching this and thinking, man, I want to be that guy who is a movie star on Daily Wire that gets to talk sports all day.
Well, first off, I appreciate it, buddy. You know how much love I got for you and how much respect I've got for you. And you are one of the guys, especially early on, that gave me a chance and helped me and was willing to have me on. And, I'm just trying to get like you at the end of the day. But my advice, because again, my path was unique. It almost happened, basically did happen by accident. To be honest with you, I still think I'm in a coma. I think I got hit by an 18-wheeler while I was recruiting right before COVID, and I'll wake up eventually. I hope not. But my advice I would be is like, you hear a bunch today about young people that they're different or they're soft or they're lazy or they don't work hard. And a lot of that is true. And a lot of young people take offense to that. And I understand. But if you're one of the young people that does work hard, that does grind for it, that is willing to do what it takes from a time standpoint and a self-investment standpoint, it's an advantage for you. Yep. Jay-Z said it best. Less is more, man. There's plenty of us. So use the other faults of people that are in your generation or your age gap that may want everything handed to them, that may just want a great job instantly. Use that to your advantage and always be yourself, especially in sports media. Don't, you can take a little bit in coaching. You say all the time, take a little bit from every coach that you work for. And then when you become, or you get to the place where you want to get, you be yourself and take all those little things and add it up to something that is genuinely you. So I think that would be the best advice in a world full of people that aren't willing to work hard. You make yourself double as important. So keep grinding, even when it's tough. Adversity, it reveals character. It molds character. Don't shy away from it. Embrace it. Stuff is great because it's hard. And I think that's something that a lot of people have lost. But I'm just very fortunate. I love doing it, and appreciate being able to hang out and talk with guys like you, Barrett.
And go watch Lady Ballers, because
Yeah.
you're for that. Jake, appreciate it. Tell people how they can watch and where they can follow you on socials.
Yeah, it's really easy. If you go to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, any of that stuff, it's Crain and Company, CRAIN and Company. We talk everything, ton of college football and NFL, if we're going to be honest. We're live each weekday, 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. Central. We have live calls and a live chat. It's a lot of fun. If you like old school sports shows, I think you'll like this one. We have a good time. I'm the good looking one in the middle that's always right. But no, come hang out with us, Daily Wire 2. We don't really get political, though, other than men and women's sports, which, isn't political. That's just, my brain
Common
working at a
sense.
functional level. But yeah, man, come check us out. It's a good time.
Jake Crain, he's the best in the business. Jake, appreciate it.
Barrett, appreciate you, buddy.
That'll wrap it up for this edition of College Football Smothered and Covered. Really appreciate you checking out the show. Of course, we are brought to you by Bet Online, where you can use the promo code BELIEVE, get 50% off your first deposit. That's promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV. Bet Online, the game starts here. Hope you enjoy your Tuesday afternoon, everybody. We'll be back on Wednesday. Until then, have a great day, college football world. We'll talk to you soon.